Hi guys, it is a gloomy day here in the end times in the former paradise of South Austin, Texas. You won't be hearing this till early January, but it is actually Friday morning, December 29th, 2017. But we are going to leave Austin, Texas and head over to Scotland to talk to one of my new Humpty Dumpty tribe heroes, and a new not a new voice from the Doomosphere for some of us, but this is my new buddy Ian Baxter. You might recognize the name Ian Baxter. I read an excellent essay sent to me by Kevin Hester from Damn the Matrix, talking about how we are positively fucked here on this planet. So obviously I needed to interview the man who thinks we are positively fucked, putting a positive message on the state of the planet here at the end of 2017. So I honestly don't know much about this man. Guys, I do know he has a degree in physics. While he is not a, quote, professional climatologist, he has certainly been following this issue for 40 years, and clearly this man understands what's shaping up on this planet. So I am just going to turn it over to Ian Baxter, let him say hi, give us a couple of minutes better introduction, and then we're going to dive in to this chat. This is not an interview, this is a chat. So Ian Baxter, welcome to Humpty Dumpty Tribe.
And thanks for giving me the opportunity to have a chat with you, because I've been following many of your posts and many of those of fellow Doomers, and it's been interesting. Just to give you a bit of background to myself, I was brought up in Liverpool, and as a teenager I was interested in the weather, meteorology. And as a result, I decided to study for a physics degree at Edinburgh University, which has an excellent physics department, and one which has a bent towards meteorology and climate. So I got an honours degree in physics at Edinburgh University.
And what year was that, Ian?
Well, I went in 1976, so I graduated in 1980. It was a 4-year course. And during my time there, I came across an article in a newspaper about the greenhouse effect. And this interested me as a scientist. It interested me, but it also worried me a bit as a human being, because if it came out the way it suggested, then it would be pretty disastrous. And I felt that we should follow the precautionary principle and, at the very least, start to prepare to make sure that we didn't allow it to happen. So, as you say, I'm not a professional scientist now, but I have kept a close interest reading books, reading articles, particularly on the internet over the last 20 years. And it's really only been in the last 3 years that it's frightened me. You mentioned in our previous conversation Mike Ferrigan. Hi Mike, if you're listening. But Mike and I have known, we go back years, many years. We were activists in the Green Party years ago when we thought there was a chance. But Mike and I have discussed this, and I've discussed it with other people as well. But what frightens me even more now is that even though the evidence is quite strong, much stronger than it was even 3 or 4 years ago, it's still not on most people's radar. When I speak to people, they say, yeah, it's worrying, we must do something about it.
Well, how can you say that, Ian? The number one story on the planet today in the mainstream media is Donald Trump is tweeting that clearly, because it's cold in New York City, in December and January, that global warming is a complete total myth. And there you go. You have the leader of the free world calling global warming a myth. How can you say?
I expect nothing less from Donald Trump, but what worries me about it is that people will read that and believe him, and they'll say, yeah, he's right. It is really cold in America. But if you look at the Climate Realizer chart for the air temperature anomalies across the Northern Hemisphere, you'll see that there's a huge pool of cold air over the United States and Canada, but the rest of the Northern Hemisphere, particularly the Arctic, is much warmer. And if you average it out, we are about a degree centigrade above where we should be for this time of year. So it's frightening, really, that people who are in power, it's on the radar, but they're trying to do the best to take it off everybody else's.
Of course, that's what that's all. Yeah, I noticed last night it's quite a bit warmer in Anchorage, Alaska, than Chicago and New York, and the forecast over the next few days it will continue to be warmer in northern Alaska than in New York and New England.
You look at I've been following the webcam and the temperature records at Oaktiagvik, which used to be called Barrow, and the temperatures there, and I must say, if I make a complaint about the Americans, it's that you still use Fahrenheit.
Yes, I know.
But in centigrade terms, it's been in single figures, in minus single figures, whereas normally it's minus 20 to minus 30.
Yeah.
I read an article that this summer a child was stung by a wasp, and the wasp has never been seen before in Oaktiagvik. These sort of things should be hitting the main news, not Donald Trump telling us all it's a load of bosh. Yeah.
Well, I think the point of making it the number one story on the planet was making fun of him, but I don't know. I honestly don't know at this point what these clueless morons are thinking. And so anyway, this sounds like a good a segue as any. As I mentioned when we were talking earlier, I have a pretty spare quote interview style. I only have 4 questions for you, and the rest we'll just take off from there. So let's do the first 2-part question, and I think we know anyone who has read your essay knows the great answer to this question is: are we fucked, Ian? And if we are, how fucked are we here at the end of 2017?
Well, as to the first part of the question, I'm very much with Peter Wadhams on it, and I think I read his book Farewell to Ice last year when it came out, and it looked pretty worrying. You got the impression that he was saying, yes, we are totally fucked, but I'm not really allowed to say that, otherwise people stop listening to me. So he put in his book that if we develop nuclear power, I think, and if we use geoengineering and we do this, that and the other, then we may be saved. Now, listening to his interviews since then, I think that he knows that there's no interest in doing anything about it. And even if there were, even if we did everything that he said in his book that we should do, he still thinks that we've got no chance. But I also agree with him that human extinction, this question keeps coming up, particularly in Mike's Facebook page. Human extinction is very difficult to achieve. Wiping out 7.5 billion of everything, if anything, is not going to be very easy to do. But I go with Peter Wadhams that although there may be 1 or 2 pockets who will survive across the globe, by the end of this century, I reckon we'll be down to less than 10 million people, maybe a million.
So there is some benefit to global warming.
Well, the benefit for what survives, non-humans that survive, they can maybe start to patch up the mess we leave for them. But the reason why I don't think near-term full extinction is so likely is because, yes, we could wipe out the food from the seas if phytoplankton dies out. If carbon dioxide acidifies the ocean, there'll be very, very little living in it. yes, it will be very difficult to grow crops in many places, but there'll be some crops that can grow, and not all crops require pollinating insects. I think sweet corn is one example that's pollinated by wind. So there will be small pockets across the globe that may allow human life to continue. Maybe it only lasts for 100 years before they all finally die out, I don't know. But to all intents and purposes, if you're going from 7.5 billion down to less than 10 million, I think you and I would call that extinction as far as our friends, family, children, grandchildren are concerned. So people should really assume that it's extinction. So that's how fucked we are, positively. And I think that what really isn't on people's radars is how quickly it's going to happen.
Yeah.
As I say, I followed the science, and the thing about nature is that things do happen abruptly. If you look at earthquakes, then you see the pressure builds and it builds and it builds, and then suddenly, bang, it goes. If you look at thunderstorms, the charge builds and builds and builds, and then bang, you get lightning stroke. You know, there's so many examples of this. Somebody wrote a good scientific article once saying that in nature, you'll have an equilibrium, and you'll have pressure on that equilibrium, and it'll try to resist it, and they'll keep trying to resist it, but then suddenly when it gives, it reaches a new equilibrium state. And I think that's very likely what will happen. We'll see, global temperatures at the moment around 1 degree above what they used to be. We'll suddenly see it jump by about 2 degrees, and it'll stay there at 3 degrees for maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, and then it'll jump again, and it might jump to 5 to 8. And we know what kind of problems we've been hitting at 1 degree, so what kind of problems we'll hit at 3 degrees, and then at 5 or 8, and this will happen within the next few decades. So that's how fucked I think we are.
Yep. So you're with the suddenly. You're looking at the over the cliff instead of the stair step.
Well, the Arctic sea ice is another example of this. Everyone's looking at the extent, and the extent is it's coming, it's going, it's fluctuating about and generally declining, but the volume is dropping worryingly. This is the death spiral that Peter Wadhams refers to. You can see that it doesn't matter how big the extent is. If the thickness is 0, you've got no ice, and that's what's happened. And you can see that suddenly there will be a collapse. And when you look at what's happening in the world, and this is the big change that will come from the Arctic sea ice going, is the jet stream. The difference in temperature gradient from the Arctic to the tropics.
Well, isn't that? Don't you think that what's happening between, as we were just talking about, that New York is a lot colder than northern Alaska? Is that evidence that is already beginning to happen?
Absolutely. If you look, they're all connected. If you look at what's happening in the Chukchi Sea north of the Bering Strait, around about Uktiagvik and northern Alaska, you can see that the sea ice there has not been forming this winter the way it should have done. And that's largely because there's a ridge, an upper air ridge, which is pushing milder air and more moist air up into the Arctic. This ridge is associated with the weather in California. It's not getting the rainy season because of that ridge. And the ridge is also forming a troptoform over eastern America, which is causing all the very cold air to plunge down from the Arctic to the whole of the United States. And this is just with something like 10% of the Arctic sea ice gone. We're seeing big changes in weather patterns. What's going to happen when we lose 90%, which is what will happen if all that's left is about 1 million square kilometres tucked in around the Canadian archipelago and northern Greenland. It's going to be immense. You could see something like the monsoon, the Indian monsoon failing, and it may fail permanently. If that happens, you've got 1 billion people starving and looking for somewhere else to live.
Yes, you do. I mean, but trying to predict all of this stuff. I mean, nobody obviously knows what this is going to look like, and when it's going to look like, whatever it's going to look like. But I mean, any way you look at it, it's not pretty. It's just not pretty.
Right. What I find ironical is many people have said that when the crisis comes, the place to go to is New Zealand. Well, the sea surface temperature off New Zealand at the moment is something like about 2 or 3 degrees above normal.
Yeah.
You could end up with cyclones heading down there. There's all sorts of things that you just cannot predict. You can't predict what's going to happen. You just don't know. They say, well, we'll just grow food in a different place. Well, that's fine. You might get on average the right amount of water, but he'll get washed out in floods one year, and then you'll get a drought for 2 years. So that's the way it works. That's when the jet stream starts getting seriously messed up. That's the kind of thing that happens.
Just trying to pick one thing. It's just going to be 100,000 things at one time. What is your view of leading up to the actual die-off of humans and I mean massive die-off of humans and all our fellow Earthlings? Where do you see the global social collapse? Are we going to see that obviously ahead of before we go over the top? What is your vision of the social disintegration from all of this mess?
Absolutely, that will come first, and I think it'll come, at least start to come, when people finally realise that this is irreversible and we're heading into the 6th mass extinction. This will come at some point. I would have thought that by now people would be starting to worry about it, but they're not, even when we see things happening now that I thought wouldn't happen for another 10 years. But what will happen is that at some point people will start to realise that we're heading that way. And I'm lucky that I'm retired now. If I were in a job, a daytime job, I'd seriously be wondering whether it's worth my while wasting my time going in to pay off a mortgage, to put money towards a pension, which I would never eventually see. So that's the bit that worries me about spreading this message. I want to spread it because, this will come on to one of your later questions, I think, what we must do about it, because I don't think we should sit down and sit back and do nothing. So I want to spread the word so that we do something about it. But at the same time, I don't want to make people feel so disillusioned with life and despondent that the quality of life diminishes totally. It's a difficult one, it really is. But yes, we will get social breakdown at some point when people start to realise that, hell, this is for real.
I'm always saying that if you want to see this planet, 15 years down the road, you go to sub-Saharan Africa today and walk around, and you're going to see what it's going to start looking like fairly rapidly. Now, the U.S. and Europe will be the last to look like that. I'm thinking, I might be naive, but do you somewhat agree with me that that sub-Saharan Africa is somewhat the poster child of the future of this planet?
It's the future of parts of the planet. I can see southern Spain and Portugal going that way, certainly. They're getting temperatures now in the 40s regularly in the summer, and they're already suffering from water shortages, and Portugal had 6 times its normal wildfires. Those parts of the world, like Iberia, will start to see that. Other places, it'll be completely different. The permafrost will turn to mush, but it won't be desert. Wildfires will clear a lot of places. There'll be dust bowls, certainly, in the States. In Canada, for instance, I can see the trees dying off and burning. But again, it won't become a desert because it's probably too far for the sun to get that hot. You will have also, I've mentioned before that you're going to get more places devastated by hurricanes and storms. The Caribbean will be largely uninhabitable. Even places like the Mediterranean. I was in the south of France a month or so ago. It was lovely. It was October, temperature about in the 20s. People were swimming. But the water off where I was staying on the France-Italy border it reached over 30 degrees centigrade in the summer. Now, hurricanes only need 28.5 degrees to develop. So if you get a hurricane like the one that strayed up towards the British Isles, Ophelia, a few months ago, if that drifts into the Mediterranean in August or September when the sea surface temperatures are highest, it could strengthen. Now, the building Mediterranean were not built to withstand hurricanes. It would just be flattened. And
you weren't there when those big walls of wildfires were there in the background, and with all these tourists out drinking their drinks on the beach.
There were wildfires in that area of sort of southern France, but not when I was there. I think it was in sort of July, August when that happened. And I didn't see it. I don't have a car, so we were staying there, travelling around by train and by bus. So we didn't manage to get far inland to see any damage, so I couldn't say what it was like.
Yeah, those pictures of those tourists out there lounging on the beach with that wall of flame and hellfire and brimstone, and they're lying there on the beach drinking their pina coladas. I thought that was the classic picture of denial.
But that's symptomatic. It's like the picture from the States of the guy playing golf with the fire in California behind him. What does it take to get through to people? And I continually hear people say, science will fix it. Somebody will come along with a fix. If you look at all the fixes in the past, the things that we never knew were going to be around, then 10 years later they're there, then that will fix climate change. But it's the scale. It's the absolutely huge scale. Yeah. And I think this is what Peter Wadham's referred to. You're talking about $100 trillion it would cost to build these carbon capture storage machines that he was saying that could possibly save us. But even if we wanted to spend the money on it, there is no will to do it. Yeah. You'd have to turn over the factories that make all these goodies that people buy and then throw away a couple of weeks later. We'd have to convert all those to building carbon capture storage machines. And even if we did that, if you look at the amount of extra carbon being dumped into the atmosphere through the wildfires alone, then it would far outweigh the amount we could capture over the next 10 years before we developed enough machines to make it really make an impact. The scale is just so vast. Somebody else said to me, well, with the Arctic we could put polystyrene balls or something into the ocean to reflect the sunlight. I said, where are you going to get 14 million square kilometres worth of plastic beads? It's just not real what people are suggesting.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're entering, since we're 23 minutes in, it's time anyway. Yeah. Which is my third question. Is at this point where we are, and what are we? And with the President of the United States tweeting, laughing at all the global warming alarmists. What are we going to do as a species to turn this train around at this point? Is there any solution, any technological solution and or political will to rise to this challenge?
Well, in short, no, there isn't. There's no political will. I think that we need to do something, but we cannot turn it around. All we can do is slow it down. My estimate is that society will break down within 30 years. And that's a conservative estimate. If we get a huge methane blowout, we could be talking half of that time. Yeah. And that would be near human extinction, by the end of the century. Just to, I know I hate to use that term, by the end of the century, because it switches people off. But my hope is when you're talking about extinction, then they might think it's a bit more serious than a 2-meter rise in sea levels, for instance. But is there a will? There just isn't. I know we talk about Donald Trump, we all laugh at him, and he's putting the accelerator onto it rather than trying to slow it down. But even Hillary Clinton, even Barack Obama, these alternatives still haven't or wouldn't do anything near enough. We get the same here in the UK. They put a few wind turbines up and a few solar panels, and they say, right, we're doing our bit. The thing I really laugh at is this Earth Hour. Now, once in a year, switch our lights off for an hour, and we'll feel really, good about ourselves that we've done our bit to save the planet. I'm sorry, but if you want to do your bit to save the planet, you pledge never to fly again, and you give up your car. You also turn vegetarian, and even that, it probably won't be anywhere near enough. But these are the kind of things that people have to start doing, not turning the lights off or putting the plastic bottles into a recycling bin. And I think they send the wrong message. That give people that comfort that they're doing enough, they're doing something. It's just not on people's radars, and we've got to get it onto people's radars.
So, well, assuming I understand that this is good. What is the term? Suspending disbelief or whatever they call it. Assuming there were the political will, just technologically. I mean, what are we got? CC and all we got. Carbon capture and storage, and we got geoengineering, which I sloppily use the word chemtrails. I mean, that's what I hear them talking about. Either we're going to suck the stuff out of the air, or we're going to reflect the sunlight back, and all I'm hearing is that this is orchestrated by the fossil fuel industry so we can keep on with business as usual, because science is going to come on. We don't have to worry about not driving or flying airplanes, because we're going to have machines sucking the shit out of the air and other machines reflecting it back into the sky.
Yeah, and Peter Wadhams puts it very well. He says that geoengineering should be just a temporary fix, if you like, just to buy us a little bit more time. On the carbon capture and storage, it has to be something along the lines of the post-war Marshall Plan, where we really turn over all our factories. We stop producing cars for a start, or aeroplanes, and we start building within these factories huge carbon capture and storage machines. That's the kind of thing that we would need to do. If there were a political will to address this, we would not only not be building more runways, like Heathrow Airport is going to get a new runway. I think Berlin Airport, they're building a new one there. We should be closing them down.
Well, go over to China if you want to see airport construction.
Yeah, we should be closing them down, and should be investing in rail lines and making the price of running a car so high that it just becomes prohibitive. Obviously, you have to put in measures in place to help those who live in rural communities and all the rest of it. But the problem is, when you say to people, we all have to stop flying, they say, well, what about people who've got family in another part of the world? And I say, well, fine, we'll address that bit last. They'll say, giving up the car, what about people who live in rural communities? Well, we'll put something in place to help them. They may be exceptions. But the low-hanging fruit is that people who fly from Edinburgh to London should not be allowed to do it. People who drive but live in a city should not be allowed to do it. And when I say should not be allowed to, that can be done by taxation. It doesn't have to be done by legal means. But, we really have to be changing lifestyles, and that is the big thing. People do not want to change their lifestyles. They will do anything. They will face mass extinction for their children and grandchildren rather than change their lifestyles. And that is what depresses me most, I think.
Well, I'm always owning up to. I did get rid of my car for 6.5 years, but 3 years ago I caved again. I drove more miles in the year 2017 probably than any year of my entire life, and here I am. I'm your old doomsday prophet, eco-Nazi up here preaching this shit, and I'm putting more miles on my truck, on my gas-sucking truck in the year 2017 than any year of my life. Shoot me. I admit I'm worse than a clueless moron. I'm not clueless, but I'm a total moron, because I just rationalize it. Well, if everybody else would stop driving, so would I. But what's the point of me stopping to drive when there's 25 million cars are going to be sold in China next year, and India doubling their number of cars in the next 10 years? It's a joke.
And if you look at the amount of carbon put into the atmosphere by other means, the wildfires in British Columbia, one province in Canada, it emitted enough carbon dioxide, I think it's about 190 million tons, which is equivalent to about 40 million cars on the road every year. The scale is just so huge that I just cannot see any way, no matter what we do, to fix it.
Just real quickly, touch on one of my favorite subjects, of course, is the Paris Climate Accord. What is give us your summation of the which of course I call him Barack Obama. Is going to save the planet with that. What is your opinion of that UN agreement?
Well, when we had the first COP meetings back in Copenhagen, places like that, it was a good idea, get people together, work out a plan. But all they've done since then is they've all flown in, had a good time, decided when the next meeting is going to be, and all flown back again.
Yeah.
And all it's doing now is the Paris Agreement, even assuming that they all stick to it, we're still nowhere near what's needed, and they're not even going to stick to it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like switching your lights off for an hour once a year. It's making everyone feel, somebody's addressing it. Somebody somewhere is dealing with it. Not my problem. I want to go back to doing something else.
Okay, okay, hold on. I hate to say, this damn battery it might be going out on me. Let me go grab another battery. We're going to talk, and I'm just letting people know that if this goes off suddenly, there will be a part 2. Let me go grab this other battery,
yes,
and we'll get back to this. I really thought that I had an hour in this battery, but I guess not. Hold on. There's a chance that it'll make it till the it'll make it till the end. So anyway, the Paris Climate Agreement, it doesn't sound like you put a lot of faith in it to save us. I don't hear much cheering on the Paris Climate Agreement.
No, it's just depressing. It's just not ambitious at all. I don't think people understand what's really needed now. We've left it, the kind of agreement that came out of Paris would have been great about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I think we made the agreement then and started addressing the carbon emissions, and also put in the research and development into renewables. Because the problem, I had a meeting last week with I'll not say who it is, but it's quite a well-known financier. He used to be a fellow councillor in Midlothian, and he's a sort of right-wing economist, and he's a multi-millionaire who's made his fortune through finance. And he read my blog, because I said to him, I deliberately sent it to him. I said, because if anyone can pick holes in it and say this is rubbish, you'll do it. And he couldn't believe. He came back and said, wow, he says, you're absolutely right. He forwarded it on to other people, and they came back and said, yeah, I think he's right. I don't think we have got a chance. So I had lunch with him last week, and and he was saying, but there's this plan, and he sent me a video clip of some Dutch scientists saying that this plan to plant 1 billion trees, which was sound, would have been sound 30 years ago, because it changes the sort of water vapor in the local area where the trees are planted, etc. But it takes, sapling's not a tree. It takes about 20 years for it to become a mature tree. But I was saying to him, okay, 1 billion trees sounds a lot, but according to a recent article I read just a few days ago, they reckon that they're losing something like about 6 billion trees a year globally through fires. Now, how much of that is extra on top of what we would normally lose, I don't know, but I would imagine it's at least 1 billion. So, people come up with these ideas, and I say, well, look at it in perspective. It sounds like a big deal, but it's not. The scale, the huge scale, meant that, if you go back 30 years, we should have put research and development into renewables then, when the market economy said it wasn't worthwhile. There are two problems with the free market economy, apart from, well, there's lots of problems, but two particular ones here. One is it's reactive. So the incentive is not there to develop renewables.
Yeah.
until the oil price goes sky high. So that's a major problem in terms of research and development.
What is your general take on the big three renewables: solar panels, wind turbines, and electric vehicles?
Well, can I come on to that? Just finish what the point I was making. There's another big problem with the free market economy, and that's the lack of accounting for what are called externalities. Mm-hmm. So that if you drive in your car, then the cost to the environment, to health, to global warming is not included in the price you pay for a gallon. We're paying that price now by insurance companies having to fork out for buildings that burn down in California, for example. So the free market was never designed to cater for something that needs long-term planning like we've needed for the last 30 years. So in terms of sort of renewables, etc., I think about it'd be great, but we can't have everybody driving around in an electric car. For one thing, where are you going to get the materials for the batteries from? There are already human rights implications, child labour, etc., and health implications of people mining for lithium. These batteries, they need to be replaced within 10 years. Yeah. They don't last forever. Now, you can recycle much of what goes into them. But again, there are resource, energy implications of doing that. Again, it goes back to people not wanting to change their lifestyle. We can't all go around driving vehicles, even if they're electric ones, because if people in the developed world are doing it, we can't say, we can carry on, but the people in India, the people in China who currently don't have them, they can't have them because there's not enough resources for it. And where are you going to get all the electricity from? Solar panels are great, but you're talking about huge amounts of this. And wind turbines as well. Again, they don't last forever. They take resources. We have to simplify our lifestyles, or nature will do it for us.
There you go. Well, I think that is an excellent place, since my battery is really saying any second. I'm going to... Hi guys, I'm just going to run ahead here because I am in the middle of a fascinating conversation with my new Humpty Dumpty tribe hero, Ian Baxter from Scotland, and we had a small collapse of global industrial civilization here at the end of our of part one. I was just wrapping up my interview with Ian, and I'm just going to put the link right here to part one and encourage you to listen to it. But we were just getting to the end of the interview. If anyone familiar with my interviews knows, what I was getting ready to talk to Ian about was his opinion on just how those of us here in the Doomosphere who get it, who understand how, as Ian would say, we are so positively fucked here at the end of 2017, just how do we spend the rest of our lives with this knowledge without, what I say, going Michael Rupert and getting a gun and sticking it in our mouths and pulling the trigger? I mean, so anyway, I'm just going to throw that question out to Ian. How do you do it, Ian? And what is your advice to the rest of us? How just to live with this knowledge that 99% of the planet doesn't want to talk about and thinks we're a bunch of whack jobs?
It's a difficult one, certainly. For my own part, I've not flown or owned a car for about 20 years because I saw this coming, and I felt I really needed to change my lifestyle and prove to others that it can be done. I'm lucky in one respect. I live just outside Edinburgh, and we have an excellent bus service, so I can get a bus from the end of my street every 10 minutes, goes to Princes Street in Edinburgh. Not everyone can do that. I also take the train a lot, but I accept that there are some places I'll never see in my life. I would like to go to America. I flew there once about 30 years ago, but I'd like to go to America, and I thought of taking a cruise liner, but I discovered that it's actually more polluting than planes.
So
that's out now. There are places in the Highlands of Scotland I can't get to because unless I walk there, the buses go about once a week, that sort of thing. So I have to accept that lifestyles have to change. You have to live a bit more simply. But I'm fortunate that in many respects I can do that. I'm also growing a lot more of my own food now because I can see food prices partly through climate change, partly through Brexit, that other twin evil. We'll see food prices in the UK shoot up over the next few years, so I'm planning to grow organically as much of our own food as we possibly can. I don't eat meat, but that was largely a choice I made 30, 40 years ago, but it wasn't related to the climate. It was just decided to try it and stuck with it. I'm not saying everybody should do all these things, but the one thing that worries me, though, is that if people do give up, if people accept that we're heading for an extinction, there's nothing we can do, then that plays right into the hands of the fossil fuel people, because they want to live the rest of their lives, which may only be, in many cases, only about 10, 20 years, because these are sort of middle-aged or aging executives. They want to live out the rest of their lives with lots of money, so they want us to do nothing. That's why they spread the disinformation and make people think there's some sort of debate going on about climate change. They're not interested in winning that debate. They just want that debate to go on. They want inactivity. And if people think that there's nothing can be done, they get that inactivity by different means. So what I would say to people is that everything we do to reduce carbon emissions, for example, we're extending the life of our children and grandchildren. We're slowing the process down. We're not going to stop it, it's irreversible, but we'll slow it down. So do what you can. And that means, for example, pledging not to take any more flights. People say, but the aeroplane will go with a seat empty anyway. But that would probably be true. But it may also be true that the flight that you don't take is the one that makes that flight uneconomical, and next time they put the timetables out for flights, they cancel that one. So you may, by not booking your flight, save a whole lot more flights than you imagined. The same with driving. We can't afford people to have electric cars, so we need to get rid of cars full stop wherever possible and take the buses, take the trains, do that kind of thing. So it's lifestyle change that's needed. I think saying that there'll be a technological fix that come along sometime, or it's the big businesses that are polluting, not the ordinary people, because that was another issue somebody raised the other day, was that we have to focus on the big corporations. I thought, well, yes, but the big corporations are only doing it to supply a demand which we are creating. I don't blame the airline companies for polluting the skies. I blame the people who buy the tickets.
There you go, brother. Yeah, that point is that whole, I call it the blue meanie concept. That we just need to make all of those blue meanies go poof. Ayn Rand was writing in 1957. There is one way. There is one way to put the sons of bitches out of business, is to stop buying their products. But she understood in 1957 it was never going to happen. That we were going to keep buying, and as long as we kept buying their products, we can whine, we can rant, we can bitch, piss, and moan as much as we want to, and as long as I get in my truck when I finish this conversation and go put $30 in my tank from Exxon Corporation. I've just, the people at Exxon, Rex Tillerson and his gang, they know damn well that who's keeping them in business. But so many people, I get so sick of it talking about we just need to make the planet eaters go poof. We are the planet eaters.
Absolutely. And consumer pressure does pay off. An example was that my wife's always nagging me about not buying anything with palm oil in it.
All right, thank you.
And so we avoid palm oil. Now, you couldn't find oatcakes in Scotland. You couldn't find oatcakes not made with palm oil. So I don't know how our forefathers made oatcakes in Scotland, but there again, that's what they do. And just before Christmas, I came across a packet which said palm oil free and proud. We stopped making our oatcakes with palm oil a couple of years ago, whatever. Now,
I've never seen that label. I'm so glad finally that you saw that label. It hasn't caught on enough. The no growth hormone label, the no GMOs. But it's unbelievable how easy it is to walk into these natural food stores right here in Austin and look at these, because organic products can have palm oil in them. Millions of these people who promote themselves as organic, planet friendly. There's actually a line here in the U.S. called Earth Balance that they sell at Whole Foods. It's like the number one ingredient in their products is palm oil, and Earth Balance is palm oil.
Yeah, you can't get away from it. You buy things that are organic and stuff for the garden that's got peat in it. Time you tick all the boxes. There's nothing you can buy. But if people do ask, I always do this. I'll ask, has that got peat in, or has it got palm oil in, things like that. And if you do that, if you keep asking, then eventually the message gets back to them that, hey, we could sell a few more of our product if we plan it, saying that it's free of this, that, or the other.
Okay, well, in addition to consumer and lifestyle choices, which I'm always harping on, I want you to speak briefly about just the psychological, emotional, and spiritual impacts of this knowledge about how do you keep from just getting totally overwhelmed with depression and just getting up every day and going about your life in this paradigm, knowing that we're positively fucked. What is your advice to people who are suffering with that end of this problem?
Well, it's difficult. For my own part, on a purely personal level, I don't get depressed. For one thing, I'm now 60, so I've probably not got that many decades to go anyway. So, and I've had a good life. I can't complain.
I'm curious. Do you have children or not, Ian?
I do have children and grandchildren, and that's those that I feel for. When I think that my own children will not reach my retirement age, or my grandchildren will probably not reach middle age, that's what gets to me, I think. But that's the only thing, and I view it as a scientist as well. I said earlier on that when I read about the greenhouse effect, I found this intriguing, and I still find it all intriguing. Climate science moves at, if you forgive the pun, a glacial pace, but not anymore. And now I'm watching things happen that it's a bit like watching a car crash, where you did to happen. There's nothing you can do about it, but you're fascinated and can't take your eyes off it. And that's how I see it. I see what's happening in the Chukchi Sea and the sea ice and the jet stream. I think, wow, this is better than any film I could watch or anything. It's happening, unfolding right before my eyes. So, as a scientist, I find it all intriguing, but for the sake of people who are younger than I am that haven't lived the full lives, then it can get very depressing.
And so, what's your advice to them?
To be aware of it and to enjoy their lives. Don't save up for a retirement. Don't. Somebody put it really well. They said that they tell people to eat dessert first. So if you're having a 3-course meal, have your dessert now, rather than wait until the end when the lights have all gone out. You don't, and you haven't even finished the main course. It's, I think, it's a delicate balance because you have to try and make sure you don't depress people to the extent where they top themselves, but at the same time, then make the best of what's left of all our lives, really.
Yeah, that's as I say, that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter what perspective people are coming from in this conversation. It always ends up here. Virtually everyone that I have interviewed that's the bottom line. From here on out, just get out there and enjoy it while we still can, because we could very well be the last generation of humans to be able to enjoy a beautiful planet, because it's disappearing quick.
Well, I'm planning right now to walk some long distance footpaths in the Highlands of Scotland, and I'm going to get them in as soon as I can before it all disappears.
Well, I think that is fine advice. So, well, before I wrap up, and again, for people just coming in on this video, this is actually just the tag end of the much larger video, which I'll put the link to part 1, which I advise you to listen to. But assuming this was all one video, so give us your 60-second takeaway message. If you were on network TV and you had a 60-second soundbite to give humanity in the waning days of 2017, what is your 60-second message to humanity, Ian Baxter?
Become aware of what's happening, and don't take what appears on mainstream media to be the truth, because there's a lot going on, and it is out there. It's not in mainstream media, but it's in local media outlets, it's in blogs, it's in scientific reports. Become aware that we don't have that much time left, and things are going to ramp up very, very rapidly, and that we have to do all we can to slow down that process. And as part of slowing down that process, we will all have to learn to live simpler lives. That's basically my message.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Now stick around a minute. I'm just gonna wrap this up, and then I'm gonna talk for a couple of minutes before we leave. Anyway, guys, we have been listening in over 2 videos for a little over 45 minutes to my new Humpty Dumpty Tribe hero, Ian Baxter. And again, in both of these videos, I'm going to link Ian's essay from Damn the Matrix, which really in maybe 1,000 words just spells it out, what's going on this. And Ian, in closing, before you say goodbye, just plug where, do you have a website, a blog, any of that kind of stuff. This is your opportunity to share that.
Yes, this blog actually appeared on my own personal blog. It's called Hearts and Minds. That's M-I-N-E-S. It's a bit of a play on words because I'm based in Midlothian, and there's Heart of Midlothian Football Club, which is based actually in Edinburgh. And also Midlothian's famous for its coal mines historically, so Hearts and Minds was what I called it. And the blog itself has had about 4,500 hits since it was first put up. And then it was copied and put, with my permission, I should say, onto Damn the Matrix, where it's picked up, I think, about 1,500 more hits. So certainly read it, copy it, send links to people about it, because it says everything really I have to say about climate change.
There you go. And with that, we are going to say thank you very much, Ian Baxter, for sharing some of your time with us here on this gloomy day in the end times, here as 2018 begins to unroll.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
All right. Bye, guys.